My girlfriend has 3 young children. She used a permissive approach to parenting because she cannot tolerate her children experiencing any kind of distress that she can save them from. Their house is very small, and every time I am there, I am forced to step on top of belongings that are strewn everywhere. It is extremely unsanitary. Her children have been sent home from school due to lice at least 5 times since I met her in November. The youngest wears footy pajamas to school every day and no underwear, because that is what the child wants. My girlfriend claims the house is a disaster because she does not have any help, and her children are not willing to do so. She will ask them questions like, "Would you like to help me with XYZ?" But any and all resistance is met with complacency. She makes 4 meals every night to cater to what the kids are and are not willing to eat. The food invariably goes uneaten, spills on the floor, and then languishes because it is impossible to sweep or mop any floor in the home. I went over yesterday to help motivate cleaning and tried to execute the plan I proposed. We would walk the children through the living areas of the house and identify their possessions on every single surface they can possibly reside on, and ask them to identify any items of importance they would not want thrown away. Then we set a 1-hour timer and didn't nag, bug, cajole, manipulate, or twist arms. I gave 15-minute incremental countdowns, and then, with their expectations set, I went through with trash bags and put everything left on the floor into them for storage in the garage of the house in case one child determines they are missing something terribly important. I wanted to tell them we were just throwing it all away, but I wasn't allowed. My girlfriend was folding laundry during this, and her 5-year-old, who was busy just making more of a mess the entire time, stood on a blanket Mom was folding. Mom asked the child to move kindly, probably 5 or 6 times, and the child with a shit-faced grin intentionally stayed put, not because she thought it was fun, but because the child knew Mom didn't like it and intentionally defied her. Mom tugged softly on the blanket, and the child fell to the ground with a shock on their face, then immediately stood up and started screaming at the top of their lungs, marched off to the bedroom, and started opening and slamming, the already broken from prior instances of this, door over and over again. Mom patiently raised her voice slightly to ask the child to not slam doors because that is against the rules. It didn't stop. I go to the bedroom to see if I can help, and the child slams the door on me as I come in. I sit down in the doorway very calmly and make a few non-rushed inquiries into how I can help the child, and if the child wants to come out of the room to see Mom. The child goes absolutely nuclear, screaming like I have cut off an appendage. I stay calm, but I stay seated in the doorway. I offer options like, "I will move out of your doorway, but only if you will be able to close the door softly." After 3 minutes of the child being as dramatic as they can be, and understandably fully dysregulated because no ability to self-regulate emotions on their own has ever been instilled, Mom fixes big, hard emotions, every time. The teacher gives Mom feedback. The child refuses to ever do anything they don't want to do. So Mom fills her role and tells me it's time to let the child have its way, undermining the co-regulation I was attempting to model. I stand as the child continues to thrash and slam the door into me, then walk away as the child gets its way, my boundary be damned, and slams the door hard into the doorframe. I had to leave the house after that, and at this point, I have zero confidence that a relationship between me and Mom can work out. My home is clean, organized, ordered, and boundary practice is strong. I can't see ever cohabiting with someone who disrespects themselves so much by allowing children to destroy the house and walk all over them. She texted me after to say that her child didn't win and that the child just needed co-regulation. Am I the idiot? Edit, wow. I am overwhelmed with the speed and volume of responses I received. Thank you. For clarity, Mom is a doctor. The baby daddy only has the kids at his own mom's house with him as a favor to Mom and doesn't pay a dime of child support or childcare. My kids are grown and out of the house. My boundary with dating single moms is that I will not make parenting efforts or be a parent to anyone else's child. They have parents. Final update. The medical license she holds and the nature of her practice and education are irrelevant. My post-history and romantic past are irrelevant. Thanks everyone for showing me that Ianta. And special thanks to the woke mob for helping me realize that I am literally dictator for my complicity in harassing my girlfriend's children, by not calling CPS months ago when I first saw they live in a dirty and cluttered house with a mom whose parenting style is not mainstream. Lest the pitchforks and torches burn the whole subreddit down, I can confidently say, I will not be further pursuing a romantic partnership with Mom, and I will be directly informing her of these being the reasons why when I see her next later this week. I will make an anonymous general report about the safety and cleanliness of the house and property in general, and let CPS do with it as they will. Once again, thank you all. I only anticipated receiving maybe a handful of responses or advice, but the response was overwhelming in mainly good ways. Cheers, everyone, and good night. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. As a single mother, even I am floored and disgusted by the complacency. I would probably reply that the child does not in fact need co-regulation. The child needs a parent who will actually teach them right from wrong and manners. She better not be surprised when her kids are bringing drugs into the house, having intimacy, having juvenile records, or going to jail. Raising a child is like building a house, and her foundation job is bad. I struggle some days. Lord knows I feel like I'm in a WWE ring and my kids are tag teaming. Autistic 4-year-old male, 2-year-old female. No excuse, and dare I say CPS for living conditions. The fact that her child goes to school in footies and nothing underneath is sad. Comment 2. At this point, I have zero confidence that a relationship between me and the mom can work out. Seriously, I figured this out by the first paragraph. Where is the kid's father in all of this? Your girlfriend is literally raising her children to fail at life. What kind of a mother does that to her own children? You were handling the problem with her son perfectly, and she sabotaged you. Not the idiot unless you stay with her. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a wild few days since my last post, and I wanted to give you all an update on what's been going on. Thanks for taking the time to read this. After the incident with my girlfriend's child slamming the door on me, I decided to have a serious talk with my girlfriend about our relationship and her parenting style. I expressed my concerns about the lack of boundaries and the unsanitary living conditions in her home. She became defensive and accused me of trying to control her and her children. The conversation quickly escalated into a heated argument, and I left her house feeling frustrated and defeated. The next day, I received a call from my girlfriend's ex-husband. He had heard about our argument from their children and wanted to set the record straight. He revealed that my girlfriend had a history of neglecting her children and that he had been trying to gain full custody for years. He claimed that she had a substance abuse problem and that her permissive parenting style was a result of her own childhood trauma. I was shocked and didn't know what to believe. I decided to confront my girlfriend about her ex-husband's accusations. She broke down in tears and admitted that she had struggled with addiction in the past, but insisted that she was now sober. She blamed her ex-husband for their failed marriage and accused him of trying to turn their children against her. I felt torn and didn't know who to believe. Later that day, I received a call from Child Protective Services. They had received an anonymous report about the living conditions in my girlfriend's home and wanted to conduct an investigation. I felt guilty for not reporting the situation myself and agreed to cooperate with their investigation. The following day, I accompanied the CPS worker to my girlfriend's home. The worker was appalled by the unsanitary conditions and the lack of boundaries for the children. They interviewed each child separately and discovered that my girlfriend had been leaving them alone for extended periods while she went out to party with friends. The children also revealed that their mother had a history of bringing strange men home and that they often felt unsafe in their own home. CPS decided to remove the children from my girlfriend's care and place them with their father temporarily. My girlfriend was devastated and blamed me for ruining her life. She accused me of conspiring with her ex-husband to take her children away and ended our relationship on the spot. I was heartbroken and felt guilty for not intervening sooner. I realized that my girlfriend's permissive parenting style was a symptom of deeper issues and that I had been enabling her behavior by not setting boundaries of my own. I also realized that I had been ignoring red flags in our relationship and that we were fundamentally incompatible. In the days that followed, I learned more about my girlfriend's troubled past. She had grown up in an hurtful household and had been in and out of foster care as a child. She had turned to drugs and alcohol as a way to cope with her trauma and had struggled to maintain healthy relationships as an adult. I felt sorry for her, but knew that I couldn't fix her problems. The experience taught me the importance of setting boundaries in relationships and the dangers of enabling toxic behavior. I realized that I needed to work on my own issues and learn to trust my instincts when something doesn't feel right. I also learned the importance of putting the well-being of children first and not hesitating to report suspected neglect or abuse. In the end, I decided to focus on my own healing and personal growth. I started seeing a therapist and began working on setting healthier boundaries in my relationships. I also volunteered at a local children's shelter and became an advocate for child welfare. Although the experience was painful, I believe that it ultimately made me a better person. I learned valuable lessons about love, boundaries, and the importance of putting the needs of others before my own desires. I hope that by sharing my story, I can help others who may be struggling with similar issues. Thanks again for reading, and I appreciate all the support and advice I've received from this community. AITA for getting upset when my husband orders water for me at restaurants, despite knowing I can't drink it. 2 years ago, I had a gastric sleeve surgery. With that, I cannot drink for about 30 minutes before or after eating. If I do, it can be extremely painful or cause me to be able to eat even smaller amounts than I am already eating. My stomach is only the size of a medium banana. The only reason I mention this is that I physically hurt if I drink with a meal. And the water isn't even my issue, as everyone has focused on. When we go out to restaurants, I am always asked by the waitstaff what I want to drink, and I respond politely, "Nothing, thank you." Then they always respond with, "Are you sure?" or "Not even water?" And I again politely say, "No, nothing, thank you." I do not feel the need to explain to anyone why I am declining the water, so I am not holding up the waiter. My husband will always interject and say, "Go ahead and bring her water." And then as they walk away, he will tell me I'll drink it. Every single time. Imagine every time you go to a restaurant, you are lactose intolerant. The waiter comes and asks, "Would you like dessert?" You say, "No, thanks." The waiter says, "Are you sure? Not even some ice cream?" So you say, "No, thanks." Your significant other then says, "Just bring them some ice cream." And as the waiter walks away, they say, "I'll eat your ice cream." Every time. I feel like he is making me look like I can't make my own decisions and that he's ordering it for me because he's saving the waitress a trip because I'll change my mind mid-meal. I do not ever change my mind, nor do I take a sip from anyone's drink. I physically can't. And again, the whole point I'm trying to make isn't about water, but taking away my decision for his personal gain at my expense. Last night, the normal routine happened, and as the waitress walked away, I snapped at my husband, "I don't want a water. If you want a water, order one." My snapping is not your version of snapping. I quietly told him, "My husband got pissed at me and said I'm making a bigger deal out of it than it is and I'm overreacting." My 14-year-old daughter then jumps in and says, "Geez, Mom, just stop." They were the ones that drew attention to our table by being loud. My daughter has developmental delays and considers everyday normal conversations an argument, even though we reassure her that it is not. So I stopped. I stopped talking completely. My husband then goes on with a new topic, acting like the previous conversation never happened. He does this in every conversation we have. I didn't respond. I know, not real mature on my end. He got all pissed again, saying, "Oh, and now you're not talking to me." But most days, I am the one that receives the silent treatment, or he retreats to the bedroom and slams the door and hides out. I gave up and just said, "Yeah, to whatever he was saying. Yes, I know 2 wrongs do not make a right. Yes, I know that I was immature not talking. But at that point, I had nothing more. It's not about the water. It's disrespect. It is him making me feel like he is superior, and my decisions are not valid, and for his personal gain. Our conversation afterwards. Him. "You know why I do it?" Me. "Because you want the water. But I have to make everyone else's life easier by just ordering water?" SMH, am I the idiot for telling him not to order water for me, and if he wants water, then order himself some? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I fail to see how this is remotely worth getting worked up over. If this is your problem, then you don't have problems. I eat out a lot. It isn't uncommon for me to just want to eat and run. All the time I am asked about a drink, and usually it's easier to just say a water is fine and leave it untouched. rather than repeatedly asking me if I want one. Comment 2. Are you sure he's not ordering water to save you from having the same awkward, "What? Are you sure?" conversation with your waiter every meal? To me, saving me from a frequently awkward interaction is what a considerate partner would do, but you've interpreted it as an act of intentional hurt, your husband taking away your agency. Why is that? Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading. A lot has happened in the last few days since my original post. The day after the restaurant incident, my husband and I had a long talk. I explained how him ordering water for me despite my refusal made me feel disrespected and like my decisions weren't being valued. He admitted he hadn't fully considered my perspective and apologized for overriding my choice. We agreed that going forward, he would respect my drink preferences at restaurants. The next evening, my daughter approached me privately. She shared that seeing the tension between her dad and me at dinner had really upset her. Through tears, she confessed that our conflicts bring back painful memories from her early childhood, before my husband adopted her, when arguments often meant she'd be moving to a new foster home. My heart broke hearing how our actions were affecting her. I reassured her that disagreements between us didn't mean our family was falling apart, and that we both loved her unconditionally. Her vulnerability was a wake-up call. I realized I needed to model healthier communication for her sake. The passive-aggressive silent treatment I'd resorted to at the restaurant was immature and solved nothing. If I wanted her to learn to express herself constructively, I had to lead by example. I decided to dig deeper into why I reacted so strongly to my husband's water ordering. In therapy a few years ago, I'd started to recognize how my dysfunctional childhood shaped my intense need for control in adulthood. Growing up, I had no autonomy. Every choice was made for me, no matter how I felt. I suppose on some level, my husband taking away my agency, even over something as small as a drink order, triggered those old wounds. Armed with this self-awareness, I talked to my husband again. I vulnerably shared my revelations about my control issues and their roots in my upbringing. He listened intently and with empathy. He admitted that he also has some baggage around people-pleasing from his own past that compels him to try to accommodate others, like the waitstaff, even at my expense sometimes. We both acknowledged we have more work to do. In the days since, there's already been a noticeable shift. We've been more patient and understanding with each other. When we went out to eat last night, my husband caught himself starting to order me a water, but stopped and smiled at me instead, silently reaffirming his commitment to respecting my choices. I placed my hand on his, grateful for his effort. We know this is just the beginning and that unlearning ingrained patterns takes time, but we're both committed to breaking the cycles of dysfunction for our daughter. She deserves to grow up with a model of a healthy relationship, one where both partners feel heard, respected, and valued. It won't be easy, but we're determined to get there, one glass of water or lack thereof at a time. Thanks for reading and for all your support and advice. It's made a real difference. Ida forgoing no contact with my mill. After she dismissed my baby's death and her family harassed me, I lost a baby in the second trimester. It was unbearably heartbreaking. I had to go in and deliver a baby that was gone, and on top of the grief I was battling, I had to explain and console my young child who wanted a sister so badly and kept asking why she went away. My father-in-law and mother-in-law were such jerks that weekend, acting like the loss and procedure weren't a big deal. They harassed my husband to come visit, and when he didn't, they showed up on our doorstep. It was a big fight, and both sides are still upset about that weekend. I have one of those birth flower bouquet prints on my wall. It has the birth flowers of the kids I now have and forget-me-nots for the baby we lost. My in-laws roll their eyes, make faces, and make comments at it. And anytime I acknowledge the baby we lost, my mother-in-law has made snarky comments to others anytime I include the memory of the baby we lost like that. We've fought with her about it. It's part of the reason we have been low contact. I just got a wedding invitation from a cousin on her side that we haven't seen in years. It was for my husband, myself, and our 3 kids. I only have 2 living kids. A family member said that was weird because they know the cousin called my mother-in-law to ask how many kids we have since they didn't know, and it must have been a mistake. But another family member said she just knows she did that to hurt me. My mother-in-law says she loves to play the villain, especially with her. Knowing her and what she has done in the past to be intentionally hurtful and laugh while claiming she thought that's what we wanted, Hubs and I would bet money that she's over there smirking and waiting to say she thought we wanted our dead baby acknowledged. We were waiting to go full no contact until after Mother's Day, because my mother-in-law's mom passed away last month, and I thought it would be too hurtful for her to have Mother's Day without her mom, son, and grandkids. Would I be the jerk if I just went full-on no contact now a week before? Update, we blocked her on everything. I told my husband I think I need to cut her out immediately, and he said, let's do it. The air already feels easier to breathe. Update 2. A new social media account was created late last night with no photo or info and messaged me a few times on TT. I already blocked them, but the message was to the effect of, "You're a stupid B word and are not ready for what you have coming. We all hate you. We've told the whole town for years they know what a controlling B word you are. He's going to leave you and the kids for coming between him and his own mother. You are done ruining this family. You will be alone and nobody will want you or the kids. Your punishment is coming. You are done for." So, that's intense. I would say my mother-in-law noticed we blocked her on everything. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Contact the cousin who sent the invitation and ask why she sent the invitation for 3 children when you only have 2 living children. If she says it's because mother-in-law told her 3, express your concern that mother-in-law seems to be having memory problems. There's always the possibility that the cousin simply made a mistake. Where is your husband in all of this? Is he on board with going no contact? Comment 2. Not the idiot, absolutely no contact. Explain to everyone you don't let vicious people with no empathy in your life to abuse you. Never do anything for this Cruella again. And that's how you refer to her from now on. She is Cruella DeVille. DeVille. All communication with her is through your husband. Block her from everything that is yours. Honestly, that level of meanness is unforgivable. Now for the update, thank you for the comments on my last post. It's been a week since I blocked my mother-in-law on everything, and the fallout has been intense. The day after we blocked her, my husband received a barrage of texts and voicemails from his siblings demanding to know why we had cut off their mother. They accused me of being a controlling and manipulative wife, turning my husband against his own family. The messages were filled with anger and resentment, and it was clear that my mother-in-law had been painting a very different picture of our relationship to the rest of the family. As the days went on, the harassment escalated. My husband's siblings started showing up at our house unannounced, banging on the door and shouting for us to come out and face them. They left threatening notes on our car windshield and even followed me to work one day, hurling insults at me as I walked into the building. It was a nightmare, and I felt like I was constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next attack. But the worst was yet to come. A few days ago, I received a letter in the mail from my mother-in-law's lawyer. The letter accused me of defamation and slander, claiming that I had been spreading lies about my mother-in-law to anyone who would listen. It demanded that I retract all of my statements and issue a public apology, or face legal action. I was stunned. I had never said a word about my mother-in-law to anyone outside of my immediate family, and I couldn't believe that she would go to such lengths to try and silence me. As I sat there, holding the letter in my shaking hands, I thought back to the early days of my relationship with my husband. I remembered how his mother had always been cold and distant towards me, how she had made snide comments about my appearance and my background. I had tried so hard to win her over, to prove that I was good enough for her son, but nothing I did ever seemed to be enough. And then, when we lost the baby, her cruelty had reached new heights. She had dismissed my grief, telling me to get over it and move on. She had even suggested that the miscarriage was my fault, that I had done something to cause it. I realized then that my mother-in-law's behavior wasn't just about the wedding invitation or the birth flower print. It was about a deep-seated hatred and resentment that she had been harboring towards me for years. She saw me as a threat, as someone who was taking her son away from her, and she was willing to do anything to get rid of me. But I also knew that I couldn't let her win. I had to stand up for myself and for my family, no matter how hard it was. So I took a deep breath, picked up the phone, and called a lawyer of my own. I explained the situation and asked for their help in fighting back against my mother-in-law's accusations. It was a risk, I knew that. If I lost the case, it could ruin us financially and emotionally. But I also knew that I had to try, for the sake of my marriage and my children. In the end, the lawyer was able to negotiate a settlement with my mother-in-law's legal team. She agreed to drop the lawsuit and to stop harassing us, in exchange for us agreeing to keep our distance from her and the rest of my husband's family. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. And as I signed the papers, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but I also knew that I had the strength to face whatever challenges came our way. Looking back on that week, I realize now how much I had been holding in, how much pain and anger I had been carrying around for years. But I also realize how much stronger I am now, how much more confident and self-assured. I know that I can handle whatever life throws at me, as long as I have my husband and my children by my side. Thank you for reading and for your support. It means more than you know. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.